I think the biggest challenge to make the people aware of the problem itself. Those who are the CEOs or entrepreneurs of the first generation after reunification, they are about to retire at the moment. The self-reflection that is probably appropriate to pass on the business to someone else is not very obvious to everybody, because there's a lot of emotions involved. And so despite the fact that we have a number of means to support these people, they were actually not called for with a high frequency because of the big reservation to tackle that problem itself. And I think we have made some reasonable progress there, but at the beginning it was very, very difficult. The advantage which we do have by now is that we do have model cases to present which could or which help to convince the people to make use of the supporting activities which we are providing. Yeah? So it becomes more tangible for the people, more perceptible. And so I think those cases which have been handled quite well and which can now be used as model cases, they make a big difference to the past. The second thing is that the lack of skilled workers in Brandenburg has become more obvious. That means it makes it even more troublesome to run your own enterprise, which actually convinces some people to leave earlier than they were prepared to do it in the past, because they say it's the younger should tackle that problem. It's not the one I'm going to solve anymore. So there are quite a number of developments around that, but I think the best is that in the very end, a kind of atmosphere, a kind of ecosystem has developed that we want to maintain all these small and medium-sized businesses, that we want to stick to the industrialization of Brandenburg, and that gives those CEOs also the backing really to take this effort to handle the transfer. Well, the first thing is that we do have to acknowledge that we do not have enough young people to solve the lack of skilled workers in Brandenburg. So we have to acknowledge that we have to acquire these people and to attract these people from outside. Outside is a very indefinite wording, so that can actually mean your next door neighbor like Poland or other countries which are also involved in these kind of projects. So next door neighbors do play a role, but there is always the question, do we actually exploit that in terms of a brain drain to our advantage and to the disadvantage of the next door neighbor? So most of the time it's more favorable to look for these skilled workers in a greater distance. This, however, is usually accompanied with a different culture environment. And what I always say is that I'm absolutely prepared to act as the locomotive to look for these people, but this is the biggest challenge.
Okay, thank
you. Well, this is actually very, very easily to be answered by myself, because my background is still some 20, 25 years in the field of science and universities. And there perhaps we have even learned faster than other activities that you cannot solve the big challenges of today just on your own, that you have to do it together, that you have to learn from each other, that it is much more reasonable to make new mistakes than actually to repeat the mistakes others have already suffered from. And so I think that internationalization to tackle those problems of today, whether this is the work market, whether it's economical development, whether it's climate change, whether it's energy transformation, None of us will be able to solve one of these problems just by oneself. We need this international cooperation, and that's the value of the project.